Hello, Essential Therapy followers. Dr. Cindy here, physical therapist, exercise physiologist, talking to you about a simple way to work on your hip, knee, ankle, back mobility. So some of you may have some difficulty with this, but I have some props and ideas in mind. Something very simple, and it is deep squats. And that sounds a little bit scary, right? So back in the day, years and years ago, when we were teaching aerobics, and I'm talking like 30 years ago, it was like, oh, don't ever do a deep squat. But in reality, did you know that our bodies were actually meant to do that? And if you go back in history, when people didn't have restrooms the way we do today, I mean, how did we eliminate out in the woods, right? Squats, deep squats. How did we sit around the fire? Maybe on the ground, but a lot of sitting was done squatting. So if you are able to handle this movement without pain, this could be a really simple way to add some mobility training into your life. So let me show you what I mean. I'm gonna go back here so you can see me. So a deep squat, this is what I'm talking about. So look at how my back is nice and straight. It's actually in pretty much neutral spine position. Hopefully you can see my ankles and my feet here. So my heel is on the ground. I'm able to move around quite well. I have some mobility in my hips that allows me to do this. It is really quite comfortable for me to be in this position. But I will tell you, it wasn't always comfortable for me to be in this position. Many years ago, I was extremely tight from doing too much running, and I couldn't have gotten into this position to save my life without pain, okay? So how do you learn, or how do you gradually get to this position, if it will be available to you, is that you need to start in a higher position. So I have a few different props here, and maybe you would start with just a regular chair, but I'm gonna start with my stool. The stool is adjustable, so I can show you a couple of different positions. So you're gonna sit right on the edge of whatever seat you're using, and you're gonna make your feet nice and wide, and you're gonna bring the legs apart like this. So maybe this is all you can do, and that's okay. If you're feeling some stretching in your thighs, maybe in your hips, and as long as there's no pain, that's okay. Now, how can we make this a little bit deeper from here? We're going to bend at the hips. So we're not talking about slouching into it, just bending forward at the hips and supporting your upper body on your thighs. So let me turn a little bit this way. What you're also going to do is bring your knees as far away from each other as you can, and you're going to hold it here. Now maybe you feel a stretch right here. This is good. Notice your ankles. Are you able to put your heels on the ground? If not, that's okay too. You might even want to support something under your heels. You could move your feet back a little bit, so you're getting a little bit deeper of a bend in your ankle and give you a little bit more stretching down in the ankle foot region. So right here might be a good position for you. As long as you're not in pain, you're just feeling some stretching, maybe some discomfort. Discomfort's okay, but not a sensation of pain. And just hang out here as long as it feels comfortable. Working up to maybe 3 or 5, even 5 minutes or longer, as long as you're not having pain. So the other thing I want you to try is just, as you're bringing your knees away from each other as far as you can, you're going to add some resistance here. So one of the things they talked about in the British Fascia Symposium that I recently attended online is that we can change the fascia also by providing some strengthening in an end range of a joint. So for example, as you bring your legs out wide, I'm going to have you put some resistance here. So you might want to do one leg at a time. You're going to push this thigh into your hand, like you're trying to go in, okay? So you can go in, hold it, and relax. And you can do that again. Push, 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 and relax. And you can do that 5 to 10 times, whatever you have time for. And you can also, if you want to play around doing it both ways, you can take a hand to the opposite side, push and relax, and push and relax, and then go to the other side, okay? But let's try going a little bit lower. Maybe this is still not giving you a whole lot of feeling of stretching. Maybe it's a little too easy. So now I've got a couple of bolsters here stacked and some blankets. It's a little bit lower than that. So the progression would be to go from something of a higher level when it's not really uncomfortable anymore, you feel like you can go a little bit more, find something a little lower. And you can be creative at this. Maybe you're even doing it on the second step in your home, for example. So here I am once again, making sure that my heels are on the ground, my knees are nice and wide, and bending at the hips, coming forward a bit. And you can even bring this down further if it's comfortable, but you're bringing it out wide. And then if you get really good at this, you can take both arms and provide your resistance there. So when you go to do your strengthening portion of it, you're pushing in, and relax, and so on, okay? And then you can provide resistance here, push, 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 pushing out now, and relax. 5 to 10 times, whatever you have time for. So let's go down a little bit further. Now I'm using some yoga blocks. Getting the idea here? So now, going sideways so you can see me. Supporting yourself. And again, maybe you're sitting on the bottom step at home, or maybe an ottoman would be another option. And I'm gonna this time bring my heels in a little bit closer. So a progression would be your legs are out further, so there's not as much of a bend in the knee here. Let's make it a little harder by bringing that heel back, a little bit deeper bend in the knee, as long as that's okay for you. Back is nice and straight, and maybe this is where you need to be. Okay, no bending forward, just sitting nice and straight. This is fine here too, adding your resistance after being here for a bit, or adding a little bit of a bend in the hips so you're coming down a little bit more. And then gradually dropping a block, maybe bringing your feet in a little bit more, holding here. And let's not forget breathing, relaxing, releasing, and softening into it as much as you can. Really watching where you're tightening in the rest of your body. So you want to make sure your shoulders are softened, your face is relaxed, and if it's too difficult, remember that's not going to get you there any faster. In fact, it's going to actually make it harder for you. So if your body is tightening up because this is really too difficult and the discomfort is too much, then your fascia is actually going to resist that stretching and that release. So it's not helping you anyway. So go back up to something a little higher. And also note that some days may be easier than others. So some days you might feel that you can be here. Another day you might need to be on the stool or the other support. Okay, so again, getting closer and closer until you are able to get really close to the floor. And here, this block actually, we can bring it this way. This is what's great about yoga blocks, is you can find all these different positions that will work for you. And then gradually being able to come to a full squat. And I will show you a couple other movements here. So if I'm able to get fully into this position, I'm going to work on the strengthening here. So you can use a hand for support, pushing in, and maybe pushing out, out, out. And you can also work on mobility, tapping the knee in, and working that hip joint. And then I'm gonna work my upper body a little bit different. You'll notice how that feels different here as well. Okay? So be creative. Remember that we were meant to sit on the ground at one time, and actually sitting on the ground at home helps you just get in a different position. You know, I think about how we sit in the evening in sofas and easy chairs and so on, and especially for many people who sit all throughout the day, it's just so much congestion happens in the hip area, in the lower abdomen, with the lack of movement. So in this position, we're getting a lot of tightness here as well. So this is a little bit different. This is helping you get mobility in that hip joint. It's not promoting opening of the front of the hip. So what you can do to reverse that tightening is any type of position that is going to open up the front of that hip. So maybe it's just even standing and bringing this leg back. That's going to open the front of the hip. or maybe you're gonna lay on a sofa or a bed and let the leg hang down, which we could talk about in a whole nother video. So hopefully that gives you some ideas for some hip mobility. I've given this out quite a bit recently, so I thought I would share it with you today, and I'm working a little bit more on my own hip mobility and having some great success with that. So have a great day, and look forward to some more videos this month on joy, because we're going to do some joy in June. Have a great day.